ahead. Yeah. We better explain what's actually going to be happening. If you haven't caught up with it yet, the draw for the quarter-finals, and we also know what will happen in the semi-finals should the teams progress. So it's Ajax against Juventus. For Liverpool, they've drawn Porto in the quarter-finals. Tottenham up against Manchester City. There was always felt like it was going to be an all-Premier League tie. The odds were very much in favour of that. And Manchester United taking on Barcelona. Actually, Manchester United the way it was drawn was that Barcelona would play at home first, then back at Old Trafford. But because that would clash with Manchester City's fixtures, they would only be a day apart because of policing issues. Manchester United had to switch their fixtures around because they finished lower in the table than Manchester City. Then, if the teams go through, either Tottenham or Manchester City will play either Ajax or Juventus. Manchester United or Barcelona will take on Liverpool or Porto. The other thing to point out about those is the dates of particularly the semi-finals, which occur from the third to last season of the weekend, and the gap in between that, and then the gap between the second to last weekend of the season and the final game of the Premier League season. Going into this round of fixtures, though, we know that one of the English teams is going to be knocked out, but it's just been such an achievement for everybody to get there. At times, for some of them, it hasn't looked at all sure of qualification.
Completely. Well, United being the main case. But I do think it actually comes down to, above anything, the managers. I was thinking about this after I was at Bayern Liverpool during the week, and I was thinking about it afterwards. Basically, if you look at Madrid, the three-time champions have just gone. Before they reappointed Zidane in desperation, they were craving Klopp and Pochettino. Bayern Munich, meanwhile, are still recovering, basically, from having lost Pep Guardiola and really haven't been the same side since. And then Solskjaer, I suppose, is a different case given at Manchester United, but the effect he's had on the club. But I think that's what really has elevated the Premier League teams this season. And it's a kind of a group of managers to go with the quality of the teams that a lot of Europe will crave.
So many times during the course of the season we've talked about, particularly with Liverpool and Manchester City, in terms of going for the title race, how they prioritise. Jurgen Klopp's getting a bit sick of being asked about that. He's like, look, it's the Champions League and the Premier League. At this stage of the season, with, what, 8 Premier League games left to go, potentially 4 games if they get through to the semi-finals, and then the Champions League finals 2 weeks after the end of the season, do you just go all in?
Yeah, you do. Unfortunately, I haven't been in a position where Liverpool are, where they're at this stage of the season in the competition they're in and going for the league. But you have to take each game as it comes, and that's why you hear them saying it, and you hear teams say it. In the competition, you heard Pep Guardiola say it, and people talking about how many that they can win. You literally cannot take the next game as it comes. I think that Liverpool were very impressive. I'm not going to say Bayern Munich, but they do look all right. But it's what's at stake now. Yeah. It's almost ramped up even more for Manchester City, more than any of the other teams, because people keep thrusting in the fact that they win all 4. But, you know what I mean? Go on, Liz.
In that sense, actually, it's such a seismic title race in that sense, and one we've never seen before because of the size of what both teams are trying to achieve. Because obviously a quadruple is unprecedented. But then on the other side, you've got Liverpool and this long wait and all the emotion connected to that. Like, actually, I can't remember a title race.
Yeah, with so much at stake.
But there have been such strong stories on either side for the teams who are going for the title.
You know what? People do talk about it, and it's very difficult not to speak about all 4 for Manchester City because they're on the cusp of it. But when you look at those fixtures, it is nigh on impossible. So if they do get anywhere near doing it, they've got to take a lot of credit.
The other thing that's happened to City as well that has been quite notable, and it seems like it's going to be the trend of all the league games now, is that how all opposition sides now are basically just sitting back against them. And I think they faced 2 shots in the last 3 games, which is incredible.
Very difficult.
So like that makes every match, I suppose, just this real, attritional battle.
Yeah.
Talking of attritional battles, I know you said Liverpool were impressive against Bayern Munich. It wasn't a particularly sparkling performance from them. Let's take a look at their run, and including the Premier League, potentially the games to come up in the Champions League as well. Fulham. They've got Tottenham, which, again, Tottenham could be kingmakers in terms of this Premier League season. Southampton away, and then Porto either side of Chelsea, then Cardiff away. How does that look to you?
Well, I think that, you have to look at the Fulham game, the way Fulham are playing, you have to give them that one. Tottenham will be very difficult, just like I think Southampton will. And, I think Porto, everybody's quite happy, I would have thought, in Liverpool that they've got Porto, but the fact is, for them to get to this stage, something's happening at Porto where they are doing well enough to get to this level, so they have to be respected. And Chelsea at any stage, they can kick into a form which will cause Liverpool problems. So it's again, we're at the end of we're at the stage of the season, Kels, where no game is a given anyway. You have to just go into the game, win the game, move on to the next one.
Do you think it's significant for Liverpool that they now know that if they get through at the quarter-final stage, they now know that their season is mapped out now,
yes,
from now to the end of the season, whereas because Manchester City still have FA Cup-type games to come, they could end up switching games around. Things will get moved for Manchester City's schedule. Is it disruptive?
It will be disruptive. It will be disruptive, and it'll be a time where people will be talking about it, they'll be pushing that issue, they'll be trying to make excuses for it, and then Pep's going to have to answer questions about that, and then all that does, it ramps up the pressure on that sort of stuff. Whereas, of course, with Liverpool not having such a complicated kind of end to their season, you know, it will be easier for them. But, you know, like I say, City have got a squad that can deal with it. You know, everybody's talking about what they've got and how great their players are. We're going to now see that.
Well, in 97-98, what was the feeling like when you suddenly have to switch to the FA Cup game? Because you were on such a run in the league.
It was really strange because switching to the FA Cup game, you genuinely felt like it was a break. Really? You actually went into that game. As most of the time, we was favourites going into the game, and we were quite comfortable going into it because it was a break from the Premier League, and it was a game. It was a game that even if we did lose it, it wasn't so much in people's heads that, you know what I mean, oh, they've lost it, they're not going to do the double. We were just so focused on the Premier League that the FA Cup was a really nice distraction. Yeah. Really nice distraction.
Do you think the Champions League would be the same kind of distraction?
Well, to be honest, it's the holy grail, isn't it? The pressure that comes with that, you know, I can only go with the qualifications and get into the finals of the Cup Winners' Cup, which was quite, at the time, it was quite a big deal. And the nerves that you have from game to game, it just ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. You feel it.
It's coming down to that stage of the season, and particularly because none of the sides in there can afford to let up in the Premier League, because you've got Manchester City and Liverpool, as we know, going for the title. Tottenham had something of a dip in form. It means they're out the title race, and should that trend continue, may well be battling out for a top four with the rest of the sides. Manchester United, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, will want to qualify for the Champions League and make sure that they do that through the league if they can. There's something riding on the season for everybody, and it looks like there will be right to the end.
It's great.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining. I was maybe trying to show a bit of sympathy to the stress levels that go through.
Even games where you would say, like at the weekend, where you'd expect, given form, Liverpool should be Fulham. But the great thing about this stage of the season is that even if they are a much better side, and you'd expect them to beat them handsomely, the stakes of the game are such that it becomes an event in itself. Exactly. And there's so much weighing on it.
And like you said earlier, Mick, Kels, the thing is now, for all of those teams, in the Champions League especially, Ole going for to try and get into the Champions League, Pep going for what he's going for, you've got Klopp going for what he's going for, and then you've got Mauricio Pochettino, and the kind of a pressure that's kind of like come on. You have to say, maybe due to him, to himself, some of the comments he's made, but you have to feel a couple of wrong fixtures going the wrong way for them, and their season's over. That's the pressure that they're dealing with as well. You only need to maybe have a couple of results that don't go for you at this stage, and it's over.
Yeah. You probably think the managers will steer away from that as terms of a motivational chat in the dressing room.
But, like, that is a reality of it. Like, you know, when
and they'll feel that, even if they're not told that, and the managers will be going out the way not to make them feel like that.
You can see it, like Liverpool, like it's going into Fulham. You know what the Premier League's like. You go to Fulham, and all of a sudden, with Scott Parker, what they're doing, they will make it very difficult. And if they don't win that, then City will get momentum, because then they'll have their game, their FA Cup. Then if they win that, they know that they've a game in hand. You know what I mean? It's so much pressure coming from so many different places. It's so brilliant.
Right, we're going to move on from the Champions League now, but you'll be glad that we are doing, because we're going to get reaction from the teams that have progressed in the Europa League now. Here's Maurizio Sarri and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
It's a very important win, but now we have to recover. We need to recover, and then on Saturday we will value the situation. It's very difficult to play away.